Hey guys, and welcome back to this fanfic. Welcome back to the 18th season of What If Naruto Was Ignored by His Family and Made a Contract with the KITSUNE'S. As always, if you want more seasons of these fanfics, just let me know with a like, comment, and subscribe. So, then, enjoy the fanfic.
37. Art is an explosion. Inside the Akatsuki, there was nothing but silence in the room full of S-rank missing Nin. All of them were seen just full of holograms -2 who were real. Suddenly, Toby jumped up. Ah man, they totally cheated. Those clever little bastards. Not cool. HN. So they got the jump on ya, huh Toby? A long blonde-haired man said. Ha! Pathetic. If it had been me, I'd be leaving them as sacrifice for Lord Jashin. The gray-haired man said. I highly doubt that. Without me, you'd surely be dead, Haydn. They'd leave you to rot. Hey, the only thing that's rotting around here is your mom's crotch. Kakazu. Ha! Haydn strikes back. Enough! Pain said before turning to Toby and Kisame, who had also returned from his diversion mission. Mission failed in stopping them, Leader Sama, the shark man said. The team I was tasked in stopping was also pretty powerful. Geez, you both suck. If it had been me, I would be of dash. Haydn, enough. And it's alright, Kisame. The plan was more of a diversion more than an actual stop. We got what we need now thanks to you too. The Akatsuki looked down to see the dead Kazekage at the bottom of the ghetto statue, as Pain called it. There's no need to hide anymore. Good, I can let loose a bit. Standing here for a long while, HN. I want to work on my art a bit. I'm afraid that'll have to wait. The Nine Tails team has arrived to the hideout. HN. So what? It's not like they can get in here. The seals are too complex if they peel it off. They'll get a nasty surprise. Sooner after that, the entire boulder came down, breaking open from extreme force. Don't you ever get tired of being wrong? Deidara, you idiot, Sasori said. Don't look at me. You put the seals up, not me. Be that as it may, you two are the only ones in here to defend this base, so you better beat them. And try to capture the Nine Tails as quick as possible. Conan said. Hey Toby, real quick, what's the Nine Tails like? Deidara asked. He's super duper fast. Zoom, zoom, zoom. And he has powerful jutsu. Boom. And don't kill Nine Tails, he owes me a handy J. Rub, rub, rub. Maybe even a little slurp, slurp, if you know what I mean, dash. Toby said, but was interrupted by Sasori. Just get the hell out of here. The Akatsuki members turned off their holographic appearance jutsu and the ghetto statue also disappeared, leaving just Deidara, Sasori, and the dead body of Gaara, who was being sat on by the former. That was the scene Team 12 plus Kakashi and Lady Chio came in on to see. HN. Well, we have a bunch of intruders. Don't we, Sasori, my man? Indeed we do, Deidara. And I'm not your man. Just fucking go with, for once, the blonde side. The others eyed the two Akatsuki members before taking notice of what the blonde one was sitting on. Seeing as it was Gaara, everyone thought. We were too late. Naruto clenched his teeth in rage, wanting to rip them a new one, but he controlled himself. He didn't need to slip up here. They'll pay in due time. You're looking real comfortable on my buddy there. Hate to do this to you, but mind if I ask you to move? Naruto asked casually, but there was an edge in his tone which showed he wasn't playing around with these clowns. Deidara, though, didn't catch it. Oh yeah, and if I should say no? What will you do? Make me move? I just might, yeah. The day is still young. Naruto said with his eyes going red with its slitted pupils which widened both Akatsuki's eyes. So he's the Nine Tails Jinchuriki, huh? From what toddler but rather suspect explanation Toby gave us, we shouldn't underestimate him, Sasori thought, but before he can begin thinking of countermeasures, Deidara began running his mouth. So, you're Nine Tails, huh? Figures. I should have known by the whiskers at least. Naruto glared at him with fire in his eyes. Team 12 looked anxious at what they were planning to do with Naruto. So do you mind doing me the favor of getting caught up in my art? With that, Deidara threw something from his palm, something white. Naruto pushed away both Sayori and Yakumo, both who were in either side of him, and took the explosion face first. Naruto, Yakumo shouted while Sayori grunted. Damn it! The explosion wasn't big, but it was still enough to incapacitate someone, even decapitate, but luckily Naruto wasn't just someone. He jumped back with a red shroud of chakra around his arms that absorbed most of the explosion. Thanks, buddy. Don't mention it, Kichiro said. Naruto smirked as he detached the chakra. If you want me, come and get me, you freak. Deidara saw Naruto peel away from the ground. A chase, HM? Well, don't mind if I do. It could be a trap, you idiot. HN, no trap is good enough to ensnare my art. HN, Deidara shouted as he created a bird to fly on while also taking the body of Gaara. I think I'll take this for precaution. With that, he flew off after Naruto, who was not too far off, dodging projectiles bombs being flung at him. Meanwhile, at the cave, Sayori growled. That idiot! Kakashi-sensei. I'm going after Naruto. I'm with you. We need to back Naruto up. The Uchiha girl nodded her head. Yakumo? I'm staying with Lady Chiyo. She may need my assistance. Go. Make sure that Naruto is all right. The two Sharingan wielders nod their head before taking off after him, leaving the Kurama clan member with Chiyo and the Akatsuki. You should have went after them, dearie. Let me have someone on one time with my grandson. Lady Chiyo responded. Yakumo smiled before she took out some kunai. What can I say? I'm a sucker for family reunions, Lady Chiyo. That gave the old woman a good laugh. The girl was tough. Old Granny Chiyo, huh? Think you can hang with me? Lady Chiyo moved forward with a small sinister grin. Ever since you left the village all those years ago, I have tasked myself in one day coming to find you and hopefully setting things right. Assault blades. Hidden within her sleeves was in fact kunai threaded together along a chakra thread. Lady Chiyo then sent out an attack with those kunai, all shooting out at Sasori, who used his tail to deflect them all, but when the chakra threads connected to them directed at his Akatsuki cloak, ripping it off his body to show what was underneath, which wasn't a normal body. What is that? Yakumo asked. That's a puppet. His body, Sasori's real body, is inside that puppet, Hiriko. It's best served as both offense and defense. Well, that's a lot, the Kurama girl said with a few beads of sweat on her face. That puppet is full of hidden mechanisms. Senbon full of active poison, deadly poison. Leave this matter to me, Yakumo dear. I know his tricks throughout. I'll stop him. Yakumo frowned as she thought about this, being sidelined again. No. Yakumo? Remember your training. Mini flashback. In the clearing of Training Ground 12, stood a young 13-year-old girl with a determined face standing alongside the sexy yet not-so-single Anko Mitarashi. It had been a few weeks since the team had been pulled together, and the teamwork had been going by rather quickly, though Naruto and Sayori were still found bickering with each other, but they can shut up and work together when it counted. Yakumo, being neutral with everyone, also helped the teamwork get by just as quick. She was just a nice person to work with because she was sweet girl. Anko saw that, but underneath it all, she saw a girl in pain because everyone has given up on her. Due to her locked-up demon in her head, Ito, the third Hokage, and one of her best friends Kurenai haven't been too supportive of the girl, wishing to forbid her from being a ninja of the village. If not for the fourth Hokage and his wife, both who have incredible knowledge on sealing jutsu, they might have gotten her wish. But still, her confidence has diminished thanks to those two. Despite her parents really doing their best for her in terms of genjutsu, no one was able to really help her in other aspects. Well, that was what she was here to do for her now. Yakumo, I can say since the past few weeks since Team 12 has been formed, I can say that I'm not disappointed with any of you. The young girl smiled. Each and every one of you brings something to the table, and that's what matters when being in a team. Though out of the three of you, when you concentrate on shinobi arts besides genjutsu, you suck. That made Yakumo deflate. But that is not your fault. No one has properly conditioned you to be a fighter. On this team, you clearly take the role of genjutsu and distraction specialist. Hell, maybe even a medic. But physically, you are weaker than Naruto and Sayori, which means you'll be backup mostly. But I want to learn to fight so I don't have to always stay behind them. I know Naruto and Sayori are leagues above me, but I can catch up. I can do it. Please, sensei, train me to catch up to them. I don't want to be the liability of the team. I can be strong, I know I can, she shouted. I want to strong, so they don't have to put me on the sidelines anymore. Anko looked at her and smiled. Yes, she'll do nicely. You say Naruto and Sayori are leagues ahead of you, but clearly you haven't heard what I said. Yakumo frowned. I said you all bring something to the table, Yakumo, and that you are strong too. In fact, I think you possess strength that far exceed Naruto and Sayori both. Your genjutsu is something to be feared, even by the Uchiha. I said physically, you are weaker than Naruto and Sayori, but in terms of potential, my money would be with you if we can get your body up to par with your genjutsu. Anko winked, which made Yakumo smile brightly with some tears leaving her face. It's the first time anyone has ever said to her that she can be the ninja she desires to be. It was truly heartwarming for her. Knock. Enough of that gooey, lovey-dovey shit. Let's get to some training. The Kurama girl wiped her eyes. Right, what first, sensei? Oh, nothing really. It's my personal favorite training method. It called advanced dodge. I only do this with people I like. Yakumo went pale at the thought of the training exercise. She remembers the exercise she had the whole team do when they first trained together. That game was hellish, but to hear there was an advanced version of the game that was being brought upon her? Was it too late to quit now that she just boasted about being stronger? Mini flashback end. The training she endured because she didn't want to fall short when her teammates needed her most. The training with Anko was brutal. Advanced dodge consisted of her snake summoning to chase her with non-lethal but body-numbing venom, while Anko had the pleasure of throwing senbon, kunai, and shuriken at her. She had to dodge all of it to build her stamina and reflexes, enough so that she can properly be trained in her taijutsu style, the snake style. Her reflexes had to be up to par, otherwise it would be like trying to teach a baby. The nicks on her body from the kunai and shuriken, it was the reminders of her hard work. She then remembered Tsunade's training. Flashback. On a sunny Sunday afternoon, Yakumo and Sayori was racing to the hospital after hearing about Anko's crazy mission. They both ran to the receptionist as soon as they entered the building. Excuse me, where is Anko Mitarashi's room? Yakumo asked. We're her students. We heard she was injured on her recent mission, Sayori said. Oh, well, her room is on the second level, a 12. After thanking the receptionist, the two ran through the hospital, despite the women's order to not run. Once they made it to her room, they saw Anko laying on the bed with bandages wrapped around her right arm. Her hair was down and she tucked under the blanket. She wasn't alone either. Irika was seated on her left, holding her left hand rather tightly to the genin's eyes. As soon as they noticed them, they let go of each other rather quickly before both of them began blushing. Jigakis, what are you doing here? Both Sayori and Yakumo smirked at her. Well, we came to check up on you since we heard of your injury from one of the Chunin. We rushed over to see if you're okay. But you seem to be doing just fine, huh, sensei? Sayori teases, getting her own payback from all the teasing she got from her about Naruto. Anko looked ready to kill and Irika looked ready to die. Caught in the act by his former students. Oh, he wished he could die. After a load of shouting from their jonin, the two genin had said their goodbye while Anko sang Yakumen the next 2 weeks off because she would be recovering. The two genin parted ways due to Sayori having left to train with Kakashi on her Chidori, which left Yakumo all alone. Ah man, what now? She said to herself as she walked the halls of the hospital aimlessly. No training from Anko for the next 2 weeks, which means she was left to just keep herself conditioned and ready. I guess I can go home and study some genjutsu. Again, she groaned. She had already studied most of her clan's genjutsu scrolls and mastered them already. There was a reason she was called the prodigy of the Kurama clan. Is this how Naruto feels all the time during the academy? This blows, she said as she slowly made her way to the exit of the hospital when she heard a yell from the far end of the hall. No, I just had it. Tsunade-bachan. What am I doing wrong? Yakumo frowned. That sounds like that weirdo, Naruto. What is she doing here? She moved down to where she heard the noise from, looking to see the hospital's rooftop. Hearing more grunting, she walked up the stairs to the door that led to the roof. On the other side of the door, Tsunade sat on a lawn chair with a bottle of sake in her hand alongside Shizune, while in front of them was Naruto, Sakura, and Ino. In front of them was a fish that was dying. Yakumo easily remembered Haku doing this on her days she would shadow him in the hospital after training with Anko. Mythical palm jutsu. Haku showed it to me once. The young girl thought, Naruto, you're charging too much chakra into the jutsu. You fried the fish with your chakra. Yeah, Naruto, look, see how I did it, Sakura said as her fish was flapping around. Naruto glared at the floating pinkette. Well, I'm sorry that I have 10 times more chakra than you do, Sakura. Maybe that's why you can do it with ease. Even Ino is struggling. It was true, the Yamanaka was having a hard time with the jutsu as well. Well, shame, she doesn't have what it takes. When I fully train under Tsunade-sama, she'll teach me her tricks and I can use them to finally be of use to Sasuke and Menma. No matter what jutsu you learn, they'll never give you the time of day. Billboard brow. What did you say, Ino pig? Tsunade sighed as she watched her all pupils bicker like children. Shizune, what am I doing wrong? There are two that can't even do it properly, and the one that can do it is a little fangirl. Is my legacy ruined? Shizune was about to say that it might as well be until she saw a figure by the doorway, and when she saw her, the woman smiled. Well, I wouldn't say anything about that. Why don't you show them how it's really done? Yakumo-chan. Everyone stopped yelling at each other to hear a short gasp at the exit of the roof. Yakumo slowly walked out with a small embarrassed blush. Hey, she can't be here. This is private training. Sakura started. Yakumo glared at her before she turned to Shizune and Tsunade. I didn't mean to pry. I was just curious from all the noise, that's all. Actually, I'm glad you came. Yakumo, tell me, remember when Haku and I would be healing wounds from various patients? The jutsu that we taught you? Yakumo nodded her head. Yeah, what about it? Do it now on that fish, Shizune said as she pushed the poor girl to the fish that Ino was still using. Yakumo frowned, feeling under the pressure of being under the eye of a Sannin and Shizune, but she did what she could. After running through the necessary hand seals, Yakumo summoned a healing layer of chakra on her hands towards the fish, and in a minute, the fish was flopping around. Shizune smiled with pride while Tsunade was in shock. This kid was some sort of prodigy. Shizune. How did she dash? Yakumo had been spending enough time with Haku-san and I when she was here for the latter's lunch to hang out. She would see us use the jutsu a couple times and she wanted to know what it was, so we showed it to her. I know it's mainly due to her talent in Jinjutsu, but Yakumo shows talent in chakra control. She mastered this jutsu within a day. It's rather impressive feat if I do say so myself, milady, Shizune said. Tsunade widened her eyes. A genin mastering a rank jutsu like this in a day? The genin surrounding her were in shock. Wo Yakumo, how did you do that so easily? Can you teach me? Ino said. And me too? Naruto said, bit annoyed at the fact that Yakumo would be the one teaching her, but it was better than it being Sakura. Said Pinkette glared hard at her. Here, she thought she was finally the best at something in her age group, and here comes the Kurama girl, marching right in and beating her easily in chakra control. Well, she would have to beat her, that's all there is to it. She was the smartest in the academy. She'll definitely win out over her. Tsunade moved towards her and eyed the girl. You're on that brat Naruto's team. Yakumo Kurama? The girl nodded her head. Tsunade glared at her. So you want to be medic Nin? Yakumo frowned. No. Well then, surely you must dash. I don't want to just stop at medic Nin. I want to be something more. For my team when they need me. For the ones that called me a failure, I'll prove them all wrong. Tsunade looked at Yakumo with a calculative eye. She looked at her and she saw herself, and with her team behind her, but replacing Jiraiya and Orochimaru was Naruto and Sayori. It was safe to say, despite her utter distaste for Naruto's behavior, and she never really cared for the Uchiha, she can acknowledge and say that the team really cared for one another and loved one another dearly. They were also the strongest genin team in Konoha currently, probably the strongest Konoha has seen for a while, and it was mainly the Uchiha and Kitsune that made it that way. Yakumo, while she had her Jinjutsu, knew that she couldn't compare to the two physically. But maybe… Yakumo, I normally don't do this, but your talent is something that I can't ignore. If you wish it, it will be brutal, it will be nasty, and bones will be broken. I can promise you that, but if you wish it, I will train you personally. I'll make sure that you will not be a burden to Naruto or Sayori ever. Heh, when I'm done with you, they may be a burden to you. Yakumo grinned. When do we start? Flashback end. Tsunade was right in that regard, as her training was brutal, almost worse than Anko's. She put her to the test over and over again, learning her techniques for the longest time that Naruto was away. She had honed her chakra to its highest degree of control that it's ever been. Her body had to endure a lot of broken bones to get where she is today. Her teammates, they counted on her to finish this while they fight that other guy. She won't be that person that stuck in the background and watched as others fought dangerously. Like the time in the Chunin exams where Naruto and Sayori fought for their lives and all she did was throw a kunai at the snake man. No, I won't be that ever again. As soon as Yakumo made the first step, 9 other Yakumos jumped out from her body like a marriage. Lady Chiyo and Sasori were confused. Is this the clone jutsu? No, she didn't use hand seals, and those look more real than the regular jutsu, the old lady thought. Sasori sent a fast wave of his metal tail, hitting every Yakumo that was created and eventually hit T-Real one in one hit. The tail pinned her by the way, stabbing her with the sharp end and injecting the lethal poison in her body. No, Yakumo! Lady Chiyo shouted as she watched the girl practically die in front of her. Did you honestly believe that basic attack would work on me? You naive child. Such tactics are useless against Dash. Are you sure about that, little boy? Sasori looked closely at Yakumo to see her appearance change drastically. She looked like a demon. WW, what are you? He said in shock. Never had he seen something so haunting before. It appears you have been duped. What are you, Ark? Before Sasori could even finish his sentence, his puppet shell took a huge blow to the body, mainly the back of him where the weak point of the puppet was. The attack did its trick as her super strength caused the puppet to crack wide open. Gotcha! The oldest trick in the Kurama clan book. Yakumo jumped in front of the now destroyed Hiriko puppet, but before she could relax, Hiriko had one last defensive mechanism. His arm shot out more poisonous needles, and they were directed at Yakumo mainly. The Kurama clan member used her training from Anko to help her evade from such needles. To Lady Chiyo, she was like little snake that couldn't stop slithering around. Yakumo was rather graceful on her feet. When the barrage of needles finally stopped, Yakumo watched as smoke was surrounding destroyed puppet as the power from her earlier attack created that much of shockwave. After my training with Anko-sensei, that was a breeze. You, sir, clearly are playing an amateur game of dodge. Yakumo, dear, that was amazing. How did you trick Sasori like that? And those moves. Just what are you, dear? Chiyo was sure she would have to cover for the girl since Sasori wasn't as crafty with weapons as he was at being an evil child, but here comes this girl, who not only confused Sasori, which is a feat in itself, but landed at blow on him without taking any damage to herself. She thought that she was just a brat, but she is good. Tsunade taught this one well. Yakumo turned to Lady Chiyo and smiled. Well, I'm an honorary member of Team 12, and if Naruto and Sayori are gonna show up, then I gotta show out. Lady Chiyo smiled at her. She felt better knowing she had a capable partner for this. So, you're from the Kurama clan, you say? A childlike voice said from behind the smoke. That means you're good with Genjutsu, huh? You must be exceptional because Genjutsu doesn't real affect me, so whatever you did must have been the real deal. Finally, the smoke cleared out and Yakumo and Chiyo watched as a boy with red hair and brown sleepy eyes faced them. You'll be a great addition to my collection, with Naruto, so how long should we keep running for? He's been chasing us for a long while. Kichiro said as Naruto kept jumping from branch to branch away from the psychopathic bomber following him, who is toughing these little clay bombs at him. Hataki and Sayori are loosely following us. I know. That girl can't sit still when it concerns me. And right now, I'm just luring him away from getting any assistance from his Akatsuki friend. I'ma take his bitch ass out soon. Just a few more meters. Naruto kept on pushing forward while Deidara was right behind him. You can't escape from me. HN. He sent 2 more clay bombs, but this time it was guided missiles. Shit. Naruto turned around and slammed his hands together. Earth style, Rock Bullet Jutsu. He shot 2 pellets of rocks before they grew to huge boulders, but when it blocked the missiles, the explosion was still big and it pushed Naruto away into a clearing. Naruto rolled to stop the momentum, but he was alive. Thankfully. Naruto frowned as he saw Deidara flying above him. Take this. He threw a good couple of mini-bombs at Naruto, which were the size of small birds. Shit, Naruto said as he jumped back before the birds could go off. Naruto frowned as he began running. He looked down to see his Haori is shredded to bits. Fucker ruined my fit. He shouted as he tore off the ruined piece of clothing, leaving on his Chunin vest. Time for the offensive. Fire style. Fireball Jutsu. He shouted as he shot multiple fireballs at Deidara in the sky, who scoffed. Is that all you got? I'm disappointed. He simply dodged the fire with his clay bird. Naruto frowned again. This guy was annoying. He hated long-distance fighter. Grow a pair of balls and square up with him. Naruto sighed though. He had some long-range jutsus too. If I can't shoot him down, I'll catch him with wood style. Wood style. Wood dragon jutsu. With that, Naruto created a barrage of wood dragons that sprung from the earth to attack Deidara, who panicked a bit when he saw them. Wood style, huh? He's bringing out the big guns early. He wants to finish this. Though I doubt he can reach me at a higher distance. While flying around the wooden dragons, Deidara reached a new high which was too far for Naruto's dragons to reach, which visibly irritated the latter and made the former laugh. Naruto knew then and there that this Deidara person was probably recruited in the Akatsuki to be a fucking troll. Naruto smirked though, as he had another that will definitely get him. You think range will save you? With style. Laughing Buddha Jutsu. Deidara immediately stopped laughing when he saw giant wood hands emerge from the same ground as the previous wood jutsu, but it was huge this time and it was going to reach him. It did reach him. It slapped the wing of the bird Deidara was riding, causing the caster to fall off, but Naruto didn't crush the bird. He only brought to him. He made the hand seal and made a clone to grab Gaara out of the clay bird's mouth before crushing it, though it exploded upon Deidara's release. Seeing the Akatsuki falling from the sky, Naruto used this time to use on of the wood hands to run up the stock of it with his sword drawn, running his absolute fastest to catch him before he made another explosive. Once he made it to the top in seconds, he jumped to catch him in the air, which shocked Deidara. He's fast. Naruto wasted no time and sliced the creep in half by the waist, killing the Akatsuki member. But after that, he began to hear sizzling sound. Naruto turned his head to see that what he sliced though what a clay clone. What the fuck? Easily summoning Kichiro's chakra to save him from the blast. It exploded, which protected him. Naruto landed on the ground before he looked around to see Deidara on the ground with a huge as clay dragon. Heh, you got the kid back. I'm impressed. That jutsu you shot out, that wasn't half bad. Didn't expect that one. You're good. And you're a piece of shit. How long do you think you're gonna last with these cheap-ass tricks, cause buddy? I'm catching on quick. Deidara laughed. Well, see about that. Feel my art? HN. After that, the dragon launched a smaller clay dragon at Naruto. The blonde simply dodged it before running away, but he then saw the same bird coming back at him. So it's a guided missile, huh? This would be how he fights, he thought, annoyed. Well, like you said, he's a long-distance fighter. These types are mostly pussies. Others are all-rounders, like you, kinda Kichiro said with a small laugh. When the missile got close enough, Deidara set it off with a blast. Naruto flew because of the blast, but he was ultimately fine nonetheless. He rolled on the ground to stop the momentum, but when he did stop, he glared to Deidara. Deidara now took to the air, which annoyed Naruto a lot. Back to square one. But he wasn't gonna stop. He scaled to his higher wood jutsu this time. With style. Deep forest emergence. In the move, Naruto sent out an entire wave of trees that grew to be as tall as a regular-sized building. It surely snatched Deidara and his clay dragon and sucked the chakra from him while concealing the dragon in more layers of wood to stop it from exploding. Not like he was insane enough to do it, since the clay dragon was still near him. Deidara glared at the sky. Damn you! You damn bastard! Don't you dare mock me and my art! No one is mocking you or your shitty art, Naruto said as he slowly walked to Deidara with a small grin. There. You just did it. Deidara shouted at him before he broke his arm out of the barks holding him. He then quickly grabbed the clay from his pouch and stuck it in his mouth, but Naruto, with his sword, cut off his arm off to stop him from molding the clay. Deidara bit hard on the clay to stop him from spitting it out to scream in pain, but he held it together. But what confused Naruto was that Deidara wasn't going to mold the clay with his mouth and left hand to replace the other one from being tied up. No, he was just using his mouth to create the thing that will finish Naruto for sure. He humiliated him. That's a problem for Deidara, as no one humiliated him. But even then, he wouldn't dare go against Leader Sama. No, what set him off was that he insulted his art. No one insulted his art and lived. Leader Sama will kill me after this, but by this arm, I have an alibi saying that I almost died. Not a total lie, but I can't let him live. He will pay for my art because my art is an explosion. As Naruto was about to behead him, Deidara spat out loads of clay from his mouth, making Naruto jump back. Jesus, how much did he eat? You know, it kinda looks like Tsunade. Don't even start. Naruto watched as the clay took form into a large version of Deidara in his Akatsuki clothes. It looked down at Naruto with his blue cold eyes. It began to walk towards him, making Naruto look rather shocked to see it can even move. Is he challenging us to a colossal fight? If that's the case, let me out. I'll beat his ass good. Kichiro started, punching the air in the mindscape. No, I don't think that's the idea of it. Shit, Naruto thought as he peeled out of there. Deidara frowned as he broke through the bark holding him, using a bit of explosive clay. With one arm, he created a small bird to fly over the giant forest Naruto made. Where the hell do you think you're going? There's no escape from this jutsu. HN. The thing exploded behind him, but to Naruto's surprise, it didn't go off. It just looked like it misfired. What? He thought as it just imploded. He swore he was just being chased by it, and then all of a sudden, it just goes boom. Though that wasn't all for surprise for Naruto, because after that, a hand grabbed him. It wasn't just any hand, it was a hand charged with electricity. It gave him a powerful shock. Oh! After about a minute, he found himself out of the forest, laying on the ground, facing the sky with a slightly burnt body. He looked up to see who it was and frowned. I should have known it was you. Only you would do that. Sayori smiled. Well, it saved your ass. Didn't it? Huh? What do you mean? Before Sayori could explain, Kakashi spoke. Eyes up. He's coming. Sayori and Naruto flinched as he got into their stances. Deidara flew out with anger on his face. Seeing the sight of him, Sayori whistled. Damn, Naruto. You put the work on this dude. Heh, well, my power wasn't for show, you know? How did you escape from my C4 Karura? That should have killed you all. How exactly? And what took you so long? Naruto said with confusion written on his face. We had a bit of a hiccup, Kakashi said with an eye smile. A hiccup? Kakashi-sensei tried using Mangekyo Sharingan on him, but he nearly tired himself out while running, plus we were attacked by some bomb traps placed by the bastards, so yeah. We took a minute to get around them, Sayori said before walking in front of the three. As for your little cellular bombs, my Sharingan detected them. As soon as I arrived, I saw a cloud chakra spreading over the area rapidly and in Naruto's cells. How I saved him, you might ask, is earlier I discovered that your bombs are weak against lightning nature. Go figure, since it's Earth style. HN, once I figured that, they never stood a chance. So that was the Chidori from earlier. You disarmed the cellular bombs by shocking me. Damn, you saved my ass, Sayori. As I usually do, she said with a smirk. Oh yeah. Name one time. Back on our first mission back as a team. Tenma. Remember? Naruto frowned. Oh yeah. Well? Name 3 more times. Ha! I bet you can't. For someone who's actually so powerful, it's amazing that you're such a goofball. Sayori said with a sigh. Naruto glared at her. Fuck you. I'm not a goofball and you saved me once, Missy, once. Don't ignore me. HN. He sent another explosion to them, but the group dodged it. Naruto landed with Kakashi and Sayori behind him. So he's long-ranged, huh? Kakashi said. Yeah, that's why I've been here for a minute, he's annoying. Hataki, is your Manjikyu a one-shot? Will it work on him? Kakashi looked at Deidara, who had a crazed look on his face. If we can catch him off guard and if he's still, yeah. Naruto nodded. Good. I'm going for it again. I'll give you that opening. Just get your jutsu ready. I'm on your 6, Naruto. Don't forget. Can see his name bombs. Naruto grinned at her, which made her slightly blush. That's what you think. You said it was just a cloud of chakra. Well, I know how to deal with sensing invisible chakra attacks. Naruto slapped his hands together as his body altered a bit with his whiskers darkened while he entered Fox Sage mode. His 9 yellow chakra tails swaying in the back while Naruto looked up at Deidara with his blue-slitted eyes. Both Kakashi and Sayori watched in awe as the boy just grew tails. Just how powerful was Naruto? Now I can sense his chakra. If he lets that jutsu out again, I'll know it and you'll see it. Plus, with Sage energy, I'll power up my attacks even more. Objective 1. Get him still for Hataki. Right, Sayori said, kinda distracted from Naruto's new look. Deidara glared hard at them and had his dragon shoot out more guided missiles. Let me show you more of my art. Because art is an explosion. 37.5 Manjikyu specialty. Kamui, with Yakumo. Yakumo, quick, dodge. The Kurama girl was swift in her movements, not allowing Sasori's puppet, which so happened to be the 3rd Kazekage, get the drop on her. After Yakumo had broken his Hiriko puppet, Sasori had reemerged and popped out the Kazekage as his puppet and Yakumo and Lady Chiyo were doing their best in avoiding his little traps from the puppet. Not so fast, Sasori said as he made the Kazekage attack Yakumo. Oh no! The girl shouted as she moved to pull up her kunai to defend, but Lady Chiyo did her one better as she used the tail from Hiriko to protect her. Yakumo jumped back after that to see the tail had been utterly destroyed. That would have sliced me up like bread if it touched me. She thought but couldn't relax herself as she saw Sasori creating another attack. On the left side of the Kazekage's body, its arms opened up to have to these seals to bring out a barrage of hands to slam her down. Yakumo immediately jumped back and ran through hand seals. I don't think so. Striking shadow snakes. Her arm produced a good number of snakes to wrap around the width of the arms. It was hard to grapple them since there are a lot in numbers, but Yakumo was able to do it. With speed, she was able to, single-handed, run through hand seals again. Fire style, Dragon Flame Jutsu. With that, she blew out the fire dragon, which consumed the arms of the puppet before Sasori then detached them in hopes of it not catching on to his puppet. Sasori glared hard at Yakumo, who just glared right back. Lady Chiyo turned to her partner and just seemed awed by her. She wasn't like most medic nin, and she seemed to be different than even Tsunade. She didn't rely on just medical ninjutsu to get her by in combat, nor did she rely on just monstrous strength. Yakumo possesses incredible genjutsu and has skill in regular ninjutsu if that dragon flame jutsu was something to nod at. She can even dodge all of Sasori's needles like it was second nature. Just what in God's name are you, Yakumo? She thought. Be that as it may, she was glad she was with her now. This could have been real ugly if she had left with the Uchiha and Hataki. Sasori suddenly sent out a barrage of kunai directed at Yakumo. Lady Chiyo bristled. It seems Sasori is aiming for the young medic because she is a threat to him. He sees that now, especially after she had just crippled him so easily at that. But what made her angry was that he had completely ignored her, viewing her lesser than the Kurama girl. Well, I guess I'll have to change that, won't I? She immediately pulled out 2 of her own puppets that seemed to have a close resemblance to the redhead in front of them, and it seemed so considering the flash of surprise that spread on Sasori's face before it went back to being his usual bored look. He. So you brought them, Granny? Of course I did. Even in this form, they should see how lowly you've fallen, Sasori. The redhead laughed while Yakumo looked rather confused until she made the connection herself. One of the puppets in front of them was red-headed like Sasori, and the other had the same kind of eyes as he did. His parents. Yes, the very same ones that died in the war by the white fang of the leaf. Lady Chiyo said with an amount of venom in her voice by describing the man that took her own son and daughter-in-law away from her. Sasori just watched them with indifference while Yakumo looked on in shock. He really crafted puppets with his own parents? This guy was sick in the head. So you used your parents' bodies to make them puppets? You sick freak. Yakumo shouted at him while Chiyo shook her head. No, child. These were crafted honorably. These were one of the few that Sasori had made from scratch, before he had his desire to create puppets out of people. As you said, I crafted them, which means I know how they work inside and out. What do you hope to accomplish with this grandmother? Sasori said with a bit of mockery in his tone of voice. Chiyo smiled at him as she had her puppets pull out wires from making them lock hands. Wanna bet? Lady Chiyo had her puppets charge at Sasori's while Yakumo started her fire jutsu again, not daring to get close to the poisonous puppet. Fire style, dragon flame jutsu. Lady Chiyo pulled her puppets away from the line of fire, but Sasori used something rather unfamiliar to Yakumo but very familiar to Lady Chiyo. From its mouth, a black powder-like substance flowed out, which made Lady Chiyo gasp in shock. What is that stuff? Yakumo asked, looking at it rather confused. It's the famed jutsu that made our late third Kazekage, the strongest of our Kazekage, the iron sand. Yakumo frowned from the name of it. Just how many people in the Suna can control sand? Better yet, what other versions of sand are there now? Regular sand, now iron sand? What's next, gold? Iron sand? Just what does it do? It's mainly iron powder, made to be imitated by the sand wielders of Shikaku, the sand spirit, but this took a whole new direction. With this under his belt, the third Kazekage was able to adapt to any situation needed. For this puppet to be able to do this, it really means this used to be the third's body. Since it's his body, the human puppet still retains the chakra the person used to have in life, making the puppet able to use jutsu. Chiyo explained. Yakumo grunted. Sasori was really getting annoying now. Which means you had a hand in 3 of our Kazekage's murders. Huh? You old bat, I never had a hand in the 4th Kazekage's death. But I guess you mean since I know of Orochimaru, I guess I'm just as guilty. Such childish thinking is ironic coming from you, grandmother. Chiyo glared hard at Sasori. Yakumo dear, you fought admirably, but even your skills cannot stop this. Run. Catch up with the others? I'll deal with this. Yakumo turned to Lady Chiyo in a shocked look. And leave you here to die by this freak's hands. No, I'm not leaving you, Lady Chiyo. There must be something I can do here. Something? Anything? What would Naruto do? Or Sayori? Think, Yakumo. The girl ravaged her brain for a thought of what she could do to help the situation, considering both she and Lady Chiyo were screwed. She wasn't like Naruto, who had an abundance of chakra and jutsu to slam with, powerful jutsu she might add. She wasn't like Sayori, who had amazing vision with her Sharingan and can analyze, predict and counter everything Sasori could throw at her. But then it hit her. While she couldn't do the things her other teammates thrive at, she had something that they didn't. She may have one last trick up her sleeve, maybe, if he was going to cooperate with her. Yakumo closed her eyes, which bewildered Lady Chiyo and Sasori, though the latter took it as a sign of disrespect. You first then. Sasori then sent a barrage of iron needles to then pierce Yakumo, but soon the mother puppet went to save Yakumo by creating a chakra shield. Sasori laughed at the attempt. Cute but pointless. Now that puppet is done. Lady Chiyo frowned as she tried to move the mother puppet, but it wouldn't budge. It was all stiff in the joints, which made her grunt. The iron dash made its way into the crevices of the puppet, made it stop moving so easy. That puppet is now useless to you. She seems to be taking quite easy. The 2 puppeteers turned to look at Yakumo, who still had her eyes closed. For what though, both were confused. Though lo and behold, Yakumo was in her deep subconscious talking to an old friend. Yakumo's mindscape, the girl found herself walking in what looked like to be the brain. It was all mushy and gross, but she kept walking nonetheless. She knew he was in here somewhere. She kept walking and walking to the point where she thought she was reaching the end of her mindscape, but what stopped her was a deep growl. You actually have the nerve to come here? After all this time? Yakumo turned her head to see Ito, her other half, chained up and pinned his hands and feet with stakes to the floor, immobilizing him. Well, it's my mind, Ito, I can come here whenever I wish. It's just since I joined the team, I haven't had a reason to come here. Team 12 made me more stable than I ever could have been, and when you're stable, I'm weak. But you came here for a purpose, so what do you want? Child. With your power, which is technically my power since we're the same person, combined with my own, my genjutsu would be unrivaled. But since you're locked away in here, my genjutsu has been handicapped. I need this power right now. Ito laughed. That's right, by yourself, your genjutsu is great alone, but with me, you can actually do some reality warping type of genjutsu. You must be truly desperate to come to me for help. Hell, you have been using my appearance to help you with your genjutsu, but it's not the same as actually killing someone with our genjutsu. Isn't it? Yakumo frowned. It was true. Her genjutsu skills by herself were wonderful, but since the fourth Hokage had sealed her and Ito separately to stop the interference of her mind, her genjutsu had toned down some. It was what she needed for sure, and she didn't regret it, but now, she needed it. With this power, her genjutsu would triple in effectiveness and actually kill them alone. Look, are you gonna help me or not? We're about to be killed as we speak. Yakumo asked as she pointed to the wall, meaning the outside of her mindscape. Ito looked at her with a creepy grin that shook Yakumo to her core. She really hated this thing, but if this was how she had to access her powerful genjutsu to save her and Lady Chiyo, she had no choice. You know what you must do. Yakumo glared at the thing. She knew exactly what she had to do to access this thing, but she didn't want to. In order to release this awesome power, she must remove the seal that remained on Ito's forehead. All the terrible nightmares, it will flood right back, and she may even lose self-control if she did this. But I'd live. Maybe, she thought to herself before she ran up and tore off the seal in the demon's head. Lord Fourth, I apologize. But I need to undo your work. She pulled the chains from the ground, the ones that pinned the demon from the ground. Once she pulled the last chain that held Ito's left hand. The demon smiled his twisted, evil grin. It's showtime. Reality. On the outside, Sasori looked at her with a bit of anger. She just casually ignored him like he wasn't a threat to her. She just stood there with her eyes closed, like she was just meditating. She snarled. If there was one thing Sasori hated more than being kept waiting, us being underestimated. You know what? Forget having her as my puppet. Killing the bitch would be more than enough. Sasori formed the iron sand above Yakumo again. He made a pillar-like club. He glanced at Lady Chiyo, who looked rather shocked. The old woman then heard something above her. She looked up to see the iron sand forming spikes above her. Can't save her from this one old lady. Die! Sasori laid down the iron sand, making it fall on the two. No, Yakumo. Run! The young girl finally opened her eyes, but her eyes were yellow now. She looked up to see the club falling on her. Sasori laughed at her. It's too late now. You should just lie down and die now, it's over. Yakumo didn't even waste time with acknowledging him. She pulled out a scroll. With speed, she drew the picture of the iron sand club heading towards her and then erased it. Die! Yakumo! Lady Chiyo shouted as she sent her father puppet towards her, but soon, before the club even touched her scalp, the iron sand vanished from thin air, almost like an illusion. Same thing with Lady Chiyo's attack. She was spared from the iron spikes that came her way as she prepared for them. Sasori frowned as well as she did. What? The redhead said in anger. That attack was about to hit her dead on, but then it just vanishes before he even dispersed it. Was this genjutsu? She is a Kurama clan member. No. It is a genjutsu, but it's something much more than that. Normal genjutsu would be more trippy defensive crap. She straight up just deleted my attack. How did she do that? What is she? Sasori glared at Yakumo while Lady Chiyo looked at the girl in awe. She knew, from this fight alone, she knew this girl was full of mysteries, but this was just fucking insane. Never before had she seen someone do what she just did before. Never in all her long years in combat and war. To this day, Lady Chiyo had declared Yakumo to be the best genjutsu user she had ever seen. Thank the Lord she was on her side. Yakumo smirked at Sasori's angry face. What's wrong? Don't be so down in the dumps. You know what you need? Some sunlight. Again, Yakumo drew the surrounding area at a quick pace, and in seconds, the cave ceiling ad vanished immediately, which left them in a sunny lighting. What also disappeared was the third Kazakage's puppet. Sasori watched as the puppet just vanished from his sight, and he glared at her before putting his hands together to form the release hand sign, but instead of seeing everything reappear, nothing changed. What is? Just what the hell is this? He shouted at Yakumo, who smirked at him. Your end. That's what it is. I erased the ceiling so no where for your nasty little iron sand particles can hide in the shadows and cracks of the cave. It's broad daylight and I can see you clearly, face features and all. Now it's time for you to disappear. Just as she was about to draw him, Sasori threw off his Akatsuki cloak and shot out 2 streams of concentrated fire at her. Lady Chiyo frowned. Don't forget me. I'm still here, Sasori. Lady Chiyo sent her father puppet to protect Yakumo with a chakra shield. Yes, I know. You're a pest. He then used a poisonous whip to get behind the shield easily and destroy the puppet before his streams reached Yakumo. The girl had to stop her drawing mid-brush as the fast stream approached her and she jumped out the way. In mid-jump, however, her mind just felt like having a meltdown all of a sudden, which threw her off her jump and she fell, clutching her head in pain. Sasori smiled as he saw that. Easy kill for him. Lady Chiyo luckily worked fast as she used her puppet strings to pull the girl away from Sasori's fire stream, though she did catch a good burn from it, though as it did catch her outer right thigh. Yakumo groaned in pain from her head and now her leg as Lady Chiyo checked up on her from behind a rock. Yakumo, dear, are you all right? Why yeah, I'm fine, she said as her eyes returned to their normal light brown color. Ito? What the hell was that? Jurr. The bond was too weak. We had a minute at most. If we went any longer, your mind would have melted from the raw power alone. You need to train more for this to last longer. Yakumo frowned. So she was stuck now. Great. Lady Chiyo, I'm sorry for my stupidity. I should have just gone for Sasori right away instead of showing off like an idiot, Yakumo said, a bit embarrassed and disappointed in herself for missing such an opportunity. Never mind that now, dear. What you did has severely weakened him now. We're in the clear of the iron sand thanks to you, but now, we still have a problem. I always thought he looked too young, but now I know why. Yakumo frowned. Why is that? Take a good look, dear. Yakumo turned to sneak a peek to see that Sasori's body was free from the Akatsuki robe and out in the open, but his body was just a bit on the modified side. Sasori had completely undergone the puppet look. His entire physique was all joints and would now. He did this to himself. Sasori saw her peek out and shot his fire over to Yakumo's head, which he missed since she ducked down again. Don't worry, after this, I'll make sure you'll undergo the same treatment. You break art, Yakumo Kurama, and I will add you to my collection, with Naruto and Co. Die! Die, 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 die! Deidara shouted as he kept launching air missiles at Naruto and Sayori, who were dodging it like the plague. Sayori, with her eyes, kept evading the bombs at the last second or would casually disable them with her Chidori. It proved to be rather annoying, but not nearly as Naruto, who would dodge and block thanks to those stupid chakra tails he has. It didn't feel like Nine Tails' power, but it was annoying just as the same since it still served as a shield for the Jinchuriki. Sometimes, if Naruto was quick enough, he would snatch the missile with said Senjutsu tails and launch them back at Deidara. Deidara didn't know how he did it, but the chakra that touched his clay bombs didn't even set them off. It was beginning to aggravate him. He looked in the back to see Kakashi concentrating his Sharingan eye on him for the longest. He tried to send an explosive to him, but Naruto stopped him with wood style. The blonde Jinchuriki used his laughing Buddha jutsu to catch the bomb aimed at Hataki. Not today, bitch, Naruto said with a smirk before he made the same wood hand fly at him. Deidara dodged it by making the clay dragon fly to the left, avoiding it. Deidara laughed at Naruto. Ha ha ha, you idiot. You think I'm just gonna fall for that one again? Naruto smirked. I don't know. Seems like you did. Sayori now? Right? The Uchiha said, jumping out the wood hand to perform her jutsu. Fire style, dragon flame jutsus. She shot out multiple dragons at Deidara. The ponytailed blonde widened his eyes at the sudden attack. He didn't even see the Uchiha on the hand. But how did she survive the explosion then? My bomb definitely went off. He looked at the wood hand quickly to see that only the front finger of the ring finger was burnt off. He growled. So since the hand was so big, a finger is all she needs to fully protect herself. He hid behind the third finger while the rest of the hand took damage. Clever girl. But applauding her isn't going to save him from her attack. He had to move quickly. Deidara used his clay dragon he was flying on to dodge her fireballs and eventually her since she came flying down with her sword to strike him. When she landed on the ground, she frowned, watching him fly around like a damn coward. He felt safe in his distance, which irritated her. Kakashi-sensei, how are we doing? Sayori asked. Almost there. Keep him distracted, was his response. We've been doing that. Jesus. How long do you need to power it up for? Naruto said, but Hatake didn't respond, too busy concentrating. Deidara glared at them. He thought Naruto was troublesome alone, but he would have had him if not for the Uchiha brat. She just made things even more troublesome. Now that she's onto him and can see and disable his invisible bombs, C4 is useless. God, he hated Uchiha. Soon became to the point where Deidara was ran out of ammo in the dragon he flew on since none of his guided attacks hit. So he did the next best thing. He used said dragon as an explosive. He made the dragon fly close to them as its own guided missile before jumping off. This explosion is one of my biggest. HN. Naruto sensed the chakra that expanded in the clay dragon and he knew it was going to be a big one. He used his tail to grab Sayori and moved to Kakashi. With style, domed wall. Beneath them, the roots from the ground formed a dome shape protecting them from the explosion which shook the area. Deidara landed safely on the ground afterward with help from a flying bird. He saw from when the dust cleared up, there was the dome that saved them. He groaned. Never before had anyone been able to block nearly all of his explosions except the third Tsuchikage and his current boss. Dodge, yes, but never block. But even worse, no one has ever made his own art attack him. Naruto was a pain in the ass he wants to see dead. He gathered clay from his bag, readying another explosion. I could really use some help here, Sasori, my man. Where the hell are you? Who knew Nine Tails would be this powerful? Oh right, Toby did. Suddenly, Sayori burst through the front of the dome with Chidori active. She grabbed her blade and channeled chakra to it before rushing at Deidara with speed unrivaled. Deidara panicked and sent out some clay dummies. Sayori scoffed. Clay dummies? Are you serious? She ran to it and sliced down all of them, but as she made her way to Deidara, the pieces left in attack rose up and attached themselves to her limbs. What? She said as she tried to slice them off, but to no another one attached itself to her sword arm. The clay began spreading in her, but luckily enough before Deidara can detonate. Naruto rushed in to slice off the strings of clay that connected to Deidara's hand and clay before Sayori sent a stream of lightning chakra to her body, disabling the explosives. Thanks, Naruto-kun. Yep, now we're even, he said with a smile, but Sayori shook her head with a smile herself. Deidara watched in fear as the two closed in on him. He had one arm and little clay left. They had left him powerless. It's been a long while since he felt this scared. The sunlight that shines on these two made it seem like they were gods amongst men. Gods that had absolute power and no qualms about using it to end his pitiful existence. On one side, there was a goddess that had beautifully seductive but powerful and dangerous red eyes that can hypnotize you with just a mere glance in them, yet you can get lost in those same sharp yet alluring gaze. The other one has a figure very kept and beautiful with his long flowing orange tails that swayed with the wind. It looked like soft, plushy tails, but they were anything but that. These tails can bring down pillars if ordered to, but their beauty was undeniable. These beautiful yet deadly beings were what awed and frightened Deidara to his absolute core. Such powerful heaven-shaking beings yet beautiful shaped and crafted. This was art. As Deidara was watching them with fear mixed with admiration, Sayori and Naruto watched him with blank looks. It's over, Akatsuki scum, Sayori said. Here's where you die for what you did, but before you do, I want to ask you this. Who is your leader? Deidara shook his head from his inner thoughts. My leader. Yeah, your leader? Who are they? Why do you want to know? Because after you, we'll be gunning for him next. That's why. Naruto replied. Deidara frowned, returning to his delusions. So after all that, you still don't respect my art? Even after I acknowledged yours. Sayori looked at him with a frown. What the fuck are you talking about, creep? We don't care about your art, nor do we want your approval on ours. Why the hell would I ask for your advice on art anyway? We just need information out of you like your leader. Better yet, just answer this since clearly you don't care to answer the former. What is your group's goal? Why are you capturing tailed beasts? Deidara widened his eyes in shock at her answer before turning to see Naruto. He had that same look on his face. The look of someone who doesn't give a rat's ass on what he's saying or what he's about. Deidara just eyed the two of them and began to laugh hysterically. Ha! Ha ha ha! Ha 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 ha! Ha 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 ha! Both teens just looked at each other with odd looks, thinking that the man is off his rocker. You damn brats! You dare stand there and claim that my art is not worth your praise. My art? Are you guys fucking insane? Naruto just stared at him. We couldn't give any more fucks about your art. Fuck you, fuck your art and everything it stands for. All we care about is that information, Sayori asked. What is the Akatsuki's goal with these tailed beasts? Deidara watched them in rage before he moved to grab the last of his clay. I'll finish them with my last move, he said as he tore open his shirt, showing the group he had stitches on his chest, and he used his only hand to try and rip it off, but just in time came the one-eyed Sharingan man. Not today, Kakashi said as he jumped up with his Sharingan active, but his eye had shifted into something more. His eye turned into something of a three-edged shuriken wheel. Naruto and Sayori immediately jumped back. Kamui. Soon Deidara was sucked in like it was a warp hole. Naruto watched the jutsu in awe like it was the most amazing thing ever. What is that? Naruto said, looking at the jutsu Kakashi casted. Sayori smiled. That is Kakashi-sensei's Manjikyu Sharingan ability, Kamui. With just a glance, he can suck anything in a wormhole. Nothing can block this technique. Nothing. Naruto watched as Deidara was practically sucked in the time-space with little to no trace of anything. Naruto watched the spot where Deidara used to be in awe, not even noticing Kakashi collapsing right in behind them. Sayori ran to Kakashi and helped him up. Kakashi-sensei? Are you all right? Why yeah. Just need to catch my bee-breath, he said while the Uchiha just nodded her head. Sayori helped him up and laid him against a rock nearby, while Naruto was still in his head. Naruto, will you snap out of it or do I have to shock you again? She shouted to her boyfriend. Naruto turned around casually as he looked her but glancing back to the spot, but eventually he snapped out of it. He'll think about later. Alright, my bad. I was just thinking that he gave us no clue, so we're stuck yet again. Sayori frowned, knowing that he was lying, but she let it go. Yeah, right. Hopefully Yakumo and Lady Chio have a better shot at getting some information. Come on, let's get Gaara. Naruto widened his eyes. He completely forgot about him. Right? Naruto rushed over to the area where Gaara was kept with a clone. Sayori and Kakashi were not far behind, though Hatake was moving rather sluggish due to the charged use of his Sharingan. Once they made it, they saw the wood clone, carrying after the body of Gaara, a sad look on its face. Well? Naruto asked. Sorry boss, we were too late. He doesn't have his tailed beast anymore. There's nothing that we could have done. He's gone. Naruto frowned as he cursed. Fuck, he said from rage, but Sayori put a hand on his shoulder. You did everything you could, Naruto. You truly did. She could feel him shivering and she heard him sniffling. I failed him. No, Naruto, don't say that. You would have failed him if you didn't come here. You would have killed him if you didn't avenge him. Don't beat yourself up over this, Sayori said as she hugged him tight, letting him cry in her shoulder. You may not have been extremely close with him like you probably wish you were, but you cared about him and showed him that you were his friend and you came here to help him and his people. You're his first friend and he had a 1 in a million friend. You gave him something that made his life worth living. So much so he became Kazekage, So believe me when I say, you didn't fail him, Naruto, you didn't, she said while kissing his forehead to get him to calm down. While this was going on, Yakumo and Lady Chiyo re-emerged from their challenging battle with Sasori. Kakashi turned to see them. You made it out. Well, we're here, aren't we, Kakashi-sensei? Yakumo said with a slight smile. We made it out in one piece thanks to this girlie, over here. This young lady here is more dangerous than that old fart Tsunade. Yakumo and Kakashi sweat drop at Lady Chiyo. But I could have sworn you were older than Tsunade-sama. They both thought before Lady Chiyo moved to her fallen Kazekage. She turned her head to see Naruto, silently weeping in the Uchiha girl's arms before glancing back at Gaara's dead body. Kakashi, why does that boy cry for our Kazekage? Did he know him? Before Kakashi could answer, Yakumo spoke. Actually, yeah, Lady Chiyo, he did. The thing is, Naruto and Gaara were enemies before because of the whole Konoha invasion thing that Orochimaru led, and when they fought, they understood one another in a sense. To Naruto, he finally found someone who he can sorta relate to in a sense. They both experienced the pain of being hated, even by their own family, and they didn't really have many friends growing up, but Naruto then grew close to Sayori, me, Anko-sensei, Shizen-sama, his foxes, Haku Shikamaru and Shino. To Gaara, he didn't have anyone but Naruto became his first real friend. Lady Chiyo frowned as she saw the blonde who wiped his eyes and smiled sadly at the Uchiha girl, who smiled right back at him. She somewhat smiled too. She was good for him, consoling him when he was down, but her eyes darted to Gaara and sighed. I know what I must do. But first, I want to see my homeland one last time. We should get back to Suna. We need to get our Kazekage back home. The Konoha team nodded before they jumped off. They met up with Team Guy along the way as they were a bit roughed up. Turns out, the traps that were set was also set with another trap to keep the infiltrators at bay. They were caught fighting themselves, which was kind of therapeutic in Naruto's eyes. But then again, he deals with himself every day as it's called a wood clone. Those bastards think they're hilarious, but in truth, they're a bunch of assholes. But wouldn't that make you an asshole too, since they're, you? No, I'm cool. They're not, end of story. Kichiro sighed in the seal. At least he wasn't moping anymore. Sayori did amazing in emotion control because in the mindscape, whatever the person's feeling reflects in the seal. The emotion is strong, so even though Kichiro is all fine and well, he'll get that strong wave of sadness that flows in there, so he knew what Naruto was feeling. It sucked because he, too, was crying and he personally didn't give a fuck about Gaara. On the road home, it was silent. Even Guy and Lee knew better than to start that youth crap that they spout. Kakashi carried the fallen Kazekage while they traveled to report the failure. They had failed the mission, Gaara was dead. Sayori and Yakumo would send glances to Naruto to make sure he was alright while Naruto was just stuck in his head about the deceased redhead. Sayori put a hand on his shoulder, making him look at her blankly. You didn't fail him. He nodded at her with a fake smile. I know, was all he said, which made Sayori frown. She glared at him as he turned his head away from her and back to the pathway. She wanted to curse him out, yell at him that the smiles he's dishing out to people is acceptable but not to her. He shouldn't dare try that shit with her. Before she called his bullshit, Lady Chiyo shouted, "This is far enough." She landed in front of the entrance of Suna, where the guards of Suna stood, including Temari and Kankuro. Look, it's them, Kankuro shouted as he ran up to the group with a shout. Temari raced up to the group, beating Kankuro, and ran to Naruto. Where's Gaara? Sayori stood to his left, ready for whatever emotion either display. Whether Naruto bursts in sadness or Temari lashes out at Naruto for failing her, she'll be here to slam a lid on both reactions. Temari, Kankuro said as he was by Kakashi, seeing his dead brother in his arms. Naruto looked down, ashamed to see the women's reaction. Temari turned over to see Gaara on the ground, lying there dead. Her eyes watered as she saw this before running over to him. Gaara, she shouted. Soon, word got out in the village that the body of their fifth Kazekage was outside the gates, and all the shinobi came out to pay their respects. Meanwhile, Naruto just kept his head down, not wanting to see anyone's faces. While everyone was mourning, Lady Chiyo moved to Naruto. Excuse me, young boy? Naruto looked at her. Ha! I couldn't help but notice that you look just as sad, if not even more sad than average villager of Suna. Tell me, why do you weep for a shinobi that isn't your own? It doesn't matter that Gaara isn't of my village or I'm not of his. He was my friend and I was his first friend and I let him down today. I failed him all right. All this power I have and I couldn't save one friend. He was depending on me. Everyone was, and I let them down and Gaara died. He trusted me and I failed him. Naruto said, tears starting to form in his eyes. The Uchiha girl comforted him as well as Yakumo. Lady Chiyo eyes the boy carefully, taking in what Yakumo said earlier and what she heard now. He's genuine. Gaara of the Sand. I know you didn't have a pleasant life here in Suna, and that we were all responsible for that, but it seems that you found yourself a true friend in this boy. This generation seems to surprise me daily. Back in my time, situations like these would be a fairy tales. Naruto-kun? I'm sorry to be such an annoying old pain, but can this old geezer ask you one last thing? Naruto opened his eyes and looked at her confused with his puffy red eyes. Chiyo smiled. Even in his saddened state, he'll still find the will to help others. Whoever his family members were to mistreat such a pure-hearted child, they are all fools. May I borrow some of your chakra for a jutsu, dear? A jutsu? Naruto asked while the Konoha team looked curious. Yes, my final jutsu. Ebizo turned to her and shouted. No, elder sister, you can't dash. It is my choice, Ebizo. He is our Kazekage and he will rule on, alongside this young lad when he makes it to Hokage. That brought Naruto right out of his sadness. Whoa, Hokage. I don't know about all that, old lady. You may not see not, but surely it will come, young lad. I see it in you. But sure, deny it if you want. We'll see if this meth addict is truly on cloud 9 when it happens. Naruto and Sayori shot their eyes open in shock. She heard us call her a druggie. They thought before she was pulled along by the old woman. They sat on either side of Naruto. What will you have me do? Just summon chakra to your hands, dear. I'll do the rest. Naruto just held out his hands as chakra began to form around it while Lady Chiyo began her jutsu. Her eyebrows furrowed in concentration. After about 10 minutes, the red head was then able to open his eyes. What? Where am I? Gaara! Temari and Kankuro shouted as he sat up from the ground. The two hugged him tightly while he sat there. Hee, well, you sure had a long nap. As Kazekage you should know better. You idiot! Naruto said with a smile brighter than the sun. Sayori sighed at Naruto, but she smiled, happy that the Kazekage lived and happy that Naruto was back to normal. Naruto. Kitsune? Is that you? Yep, it's me, Gaara. You're all right. Gaara shook his head. But I was dead. How am I dash? Oh, it's because of Lady Chiyo. Look, see dash. Naruto turned to point at the woman, but when he turned around, he saw the woman lying on the ground surrounded by her brother and Yakumo, who was running diagnostic on her but shook her head at Ebizo, calling her death. She's gone, Naruto, Kakashi said. That jutsu she did. She gave her life to save the Kazekage. Her chakra was all gone the moment Gaara woke up, Neji said. Naruto looked at her body in sadness. Gaara slowly got up, with the aid of Temari and Kankuro before walking over there with Naruto. Let us pray for Lady Chiyo. May her soul pass over to the other side safely. Everyone bowed their heads at the woman's lifeless body, praying for her kind soul to move on to the next life and thank her for her sacrifice. Meanwhile, in another place, 3 people stood there. They killed Deidara and Sasori. We lost 2 valuable members today. Who knew they were that strong? Pain said. Deidara isn't dead, a deep voice said. What? Pain said while Conan looked confused. Deidara isn't dead, see? Suddenly, within fast appearance of a wormhole, Deidara's unconscious body fell on the ground, though blood still leaked from his arm. What? But how? Hataki's jutsu isn't so certain as he believes. Here, as he said that, the man threw an arm beside Deidara, which happened to be the very man's own arm which was sliced off by Naruto. The man began to leave. You should get that arm checked out though, he may actually die but from blood loss. Ask Kakazu. I'm sure he'll be more than happy to save him. For the right price. If he asks, tell him you saved him. I need to keep my image around here until it's time. Any luck with the what you're doing? Pain asked. The man turned around. The Uchiha is quite tightly bound to the village. The fourth Hokage did a good job keeping them loyal, but there is always a weak spot in everything. We just have to find it. Why provoke the Uchiha again? What's to gain out of it? Are you after Itachi Uchiha? Despite his talent, he is insanely loyal to his village, Conan said. The man turned to her, eyeing her with his Sharingan. No, Conan, dear. Itachi isn't my goal. I'm after something much more appealing. Get him healed, or he'll die, and prepare for the Two Tails hunt. We will succeed in our goals. Children, in the name of Madara Uchiha. The man shouted before he vanished out of sight, leaving Pain and Conan there. That exit was so fucking gay. We know who he is. Why does he have to do that all the time? Pain mumbled as he had one of his paths pick up Deidara to bring him to the healing room.